It's a pleasure to meet you. I mean, I love your work. I love everything about it. So first of all, I mean, Guy Harvey Weekends is coming up at SeaWorld. What can guests expect to see there besides you?
Well, we have a long relationship with SeaWorld. It's been going on for about 6 years now. Of course, it took a break for a year. So this is my first public appearance in about 15 months for SeaWorld Orlando. I normally go twice a year. They're exceptional events. We do Friday, Saturday, Sunday. This is perfect for Father's Day too. So hopefully we'll have a lot of family there. We talk about the relationship between my foundation and SeaWorld, sea rescues, all the different rescue projects that SeaWorld is busy with, including manatees and turtles and dolphins and all sorts of land animals as well. SeaWorld has also helped me with some of our research work on mako sharks. So there's a collaboration going on there, particularly because the Orlando park has the mako roller coaster. Well, it's a hypercoaster. And I painted a mural there about 4 years ago at that site, which was, a really cool event. It generated a lot of interest about the animals, the sharks, the mako shark in particular, on which we do a lot of research work here. And I'm also launching my new book. I got it right here, Guy Harvey's Underwater World. And there's a couple of sections here in which SeaWorld is involved in some of our research work on whale sharks in Mexico. During the pandemic, we saw the opportunity to take our footage from all these different expeditions that we've done in the past and turn them into really educational tools, short little sound bites about different marine animals for educational purposes. And one of the things we've done is to sign a contract with Discovery Education to have a broader reach. So we can actually reach 50 million kids around the world, 5 million teachers. And because SeaWorld has played such an important role in marine science education, they could become our perfect partner in this venture. And we work very closely with the Department of Education in Florida, with Florida Virtual School, with Discovery Ed, as I said, and a number of other organizations to put together a really meaningful marine science educational curriculum for kids from K to 12. And this is a new initiative that we're taking, particularly because our emphasis in the past, in the last 22 years, has really been on research work. So we're taking the combined data from all our research work, the 145 peer-reviewed papers we published, plus all the wonderful content that we gathered in the field from many different countries in the Caribbean, Central America, and put this into a really cool, very interactive educational tool. Our professional film producer, George Schellinger, who's an award-winning producer, has put together all these little bits and pieces. Plus, we've had full-length documentaries done as well, which are available on Amazon Prime if you're a subscriber. So we cut them down into these shorter versions that are more digestible for kids. Plus, we have this wonderful tracking website. People can watch it on ghritracking.org. And it tracks all the sharks, all the billfishes, all the tunas that we've tracked in the last 20 years, and the animated tracks as well. So school kids, anybody can go and visit the site. The massive migrations of many of these animals. It's really fascinating how far they can go in a year.
Out of all your experiences out there so far, like one of the best moments that you've seen while out there doing all this conservation work?
There have been many fantastic moments, and it's the same way people ask me, what's your favorite painting in this new book? Well, there are many favorites. We've been lucky in that we have collaborated with a lot of people in different countries. The expeditions allows interactions for us as filmmakers, and for me as an artist, I derive a lot of inspiration from the interactions, but also the science, the results that come out of these studies is absolutely fascinating. And because of their long-term nature, these animals are long-lived and slow-growing, especially sharks, that you don't research them for just 1 or 2 years, you do it for maybe a decade. So the whale shark studies in Mexico have been going on for about 5 years. The tiger sharks that we studied in Bermuda, Bahamas, Caribbean for about 8 years. The mako shark work we're doing with SeaWorld right now has been going on for 9 years. There are many opportunities during that time to have really very cool interactions. And just one on the back of this book, there's a mako shark, there we go, that I'm giving a little push start to after we tagged it with a electronic tag. That was one of the memorable encounters. And that animal we tagged off the Yucatan, and within 5 months, it was up by Nova Scotia. So
Wow.
that was pretty amazing. And I was up in Nova Scotia at the same time, doing some work on bluefin tunas there in October. And it was like that shark was following us all up the Atlantic coast. It was pretty crazy.
Now, would you say mako sharks are your favorite? Because I mean,
They're one of the coolest animals ever evolved, in my opinion. They are the cousin to the white shark, which is, everybody's favorite animal because, they're a formidable animal. Let's put it like that. Is a smaller version, much faster, and they are the predator of all the other predators in the open ocean. So they eat tuna, they eat swordfish, they eat billfishes, and they taste cool. And that's why they're actually overfished now, because they're one of the few sharks that are kept for their meat. And we have an issue now. They've been listed as Appendix 2 by CITES because they've been so overfished in the Atlantic. But we're hoping to put an end to that slowly through our tracking work. The other cool thing that we learned very recently is that the whale sharks, which have also become a favorite of people's in the Yucatan, people going to Cancun, Isla Mujeres, the Atlantic coast of Mexico, can actually go and snorkel with these whale sharks, which are up to 30 or 40 feet long, because they feed at the surface on plankton, and you can swim with them. But they habitually return to the same place every year. That once the batteries on their tags die, the shark will come to the same spot every year, and we can actually change the tag on the shark while it's swimming along, and therefore continue the long-term nature of the research work. So 2 or 3 of these animals now have been carrying their tags for about 4 years. So if we can get it up to 5 or 6 or 8 years, we can truly measure the cyclical nature of these migrations and why they're doing it.
When you're out there and you're looking at these incredible animals out there, people back home, what can they do to help? That's a big question. I mean, I participated in a beach cleanup. I mean, it drives me crazy when I see people leave trash on the beach.
Right.
I think that's something that people want to know, or what is something they can do to help with your conservation efforts?
Great question. Well, a lot of Floridians know that we have a specialty license plate with the dolphin fish, the mahi-mahi. That's one way of supporting it. Of course, all these projects need funding. So funding is a key thing, and you can help in a very small way or in a bigger way. But the license plate is the cool one simply because it looks good. It looks good on your car, and you're on an annual basis you're making a contribution. But more importantly, people need to learn more about the marine environment so they can educate themselves about marine life generally, the ecology, the habitat. They can share that knowledge with their family and friends. And these days, when everybody's on their phones, tinkling to each other all the time, it's pretty easy to communicate and to get the facts across, to learn about the natural history and the resource issues. If you're a fisherman, you should follow all the local guidelines, the regulations, slot sizes, closed seasons, and all that stuff for different species. Learn about the species, because that data has been provided through research work, mostly by the Florida, Wildlife and Conservation Commission, which is a really good organization. But also you can join some of these conservation groups as well, a local one, maybe a regional one, and a national one. I was on the board of the IGFA for 28 years, which is an international fishing organization. So we didn't affect just things happening locally, but across many different countries to get people on board. I think the key thing is to educate yourself about the issues and just share that knowledge, but also recycle, and where you can use renewable energy. I put in solar panels at home. It cuts a lot out of your light bill. I mean, there's lots you can do, and of course, don't trash the ocean.
I'm going to steal a question from something that I heard you talk about before. But what inspires you about the future, looking ahead, about marine conservation and just the oceans in general? What can you say about that?
There's a lot of factors at play here, and we deal a lot, of course, on the negative side with the overfishing, overexploitation, and the science has shown a general downward trend in all marine populations, whether you're talking about conchs or lobster or coral reefs or offshore sharks. And we have to change that. And we're going to do that through more research work. And I just wish governments and institutions would spend more money on what we got here on the planet rather than up in space, for example. It's just going to be, because it's a more imminent issue, more imminent problem. Combined with over extraction is all the other factors of climate change and acidification of the ocean. So we know through the pandemic how in a year without visitors, where I live in the Cayman Islands, how the coral reefs have really kind of come back and fish have come back. Even in just a short year, 1 year without all these bodies in the water, people diving and fishing and doing all, the recovery rate has been quite remarkable. But the key thing goes back to education. And I think getting to the kids who have, I'm not going to say they're more responsible than our generation, but certainly kids now pay a lot more attention to what's going on around than we ever did, because there's just better educational opportunities. I'm really glad to say where I live in the Cayman Islands, we just expanded our marine parks from 15% coverage of no-take zones to 45% in all our shallow reef areas down to the drop-off, which is a very meaningful expansion. It's going to actually make a huge difference. Of course, you've got to enforce it. But eventually, we're all going to have to, cut back on what we consume from the sea. We're going to have to take a hard look at the fish that we eat, whether it's farm-raised or it's wild-caught. And we're going to have to just individually make that decision. I have already. I love eating fish, but I'm cutting back. I do recommend they watch that Netflix documentary called Seaspiracy, because it scratches the surface about over extraction. It's quite horrifying in some respects, just to the extent to which we do damage the ocean willfully and how wasteful our extraction processes are. So there's a lot you can do. I'm hopeful that with fantastic education, smart kids around, that changes are going to come faster than we suspect.
I just went out to SeaWorld. They launched that. It's the Florida Rescue Center.
Right.
The coral reefs out there. Well, their work that they're doing is just incredible. Trying to rebuild the coral reefs that are struggling. It's incredible what SeaWorld's doing, what you're doing, trying to educate people about that.
It is amazing. The coral reef situation is dire, especially in the Western Atlantic, because of acidification of the oceans. They're becoming more acidic. Any animal, including coral reefs that have a calcium carbonate skeleton, is affected by increased acidity. This is very, very serious. People don't realize how serious it is. And it emanates from the CO2 in the atmosphere. So in Florida, there's about 2% live coral left, which is, a very small amount. In Cayman, where I live, Grand Cayman, which is supposed to be healthy, there's about 8% living coral. Some of the outer islands, like Little Cayman, have 23% cover of living coral. So, and we were in Cuba a couple of years ago doing an expedition on the south side in the Gardens of the Queen, where there's no agriculture nearby, no development, no fishing, it's protected area. And the corals are vibrant and the fish populations are awesome because nobody's allowed to take anything. It just shows how effective marine protected areas can be. So we definitely need more of them.
So SeaWorld weekends, and you're going to be there, Guy Harvey weekends.
Yes.
You're talking about your Underwater World book, which looks incredible.
Thank you.
Can people purchase that book there?
Yes, they can, and they can get it signed as well. And we'll have a bunch of my other art, new apparel. We have some fantastic new designs. Many of them incorporate the new Reprieve material, which is a derivative of recycled plastic in our new performance items. Beautiful prints for ladies and men. Have autographs done and talk about marine conservation. It's going to be a fun weekend.
If people can't make it out this weekend, where can they get your book at?
They can find it online at guyharvey.com.
Okay.
Very easy. Yeah.
All right. Before I go, I just got to ask. I mean, I was at SeaWorld 2-3 weeks ago, and I was looking at your artwork, and I was like, geez, like it's beautiful just to sit there and look at. Do you have a favorite? I just had to ask. Do you have a favorite piece of art that you're like, that's the one I love?
There are a couple of nice ones here, and this is in our showroom. I got manatees behind me. You can see the one I've been working on recently. I love to do, the bigger animals, this is an 8 foot canvas behind me, and over there there's some that are 10 foot, 15 foot long, because these animals, many of the oceanic animals, are large and they demand a big canvas. And one of the cool things about the pandemic for us, our lockdown, was not only did I write that new book, which took about 100 days to do, but I could get stuck into some of these detailed paintings, which they take a long time. You know, behind me, we got jacks and spadefish and an eagle ray, sharks, mangroves, all sorts of stuff, tarpon, that live in the same area as manatees do. And so manatee, they're a very cool animal. You know, they've had a tough time thanks to boats and pollution and outflows from Lake Okeechobee and all sorts of other things that happen to them. But they are protected. Many of the fish around them are not.
I was like, maybe he likes the one on the front of the cover of the book. Maybe that's his favorite.
We had to pick a billfish because we spent so much time with them. Yep.
It's interesting that you were talking about manatees. We've done several stories recently about manatee, like the number of deaths this year are up.
Right.
It's just really sad news to hear that. I mean, the numbers, especially here in Central Florida.
Yeah.
I think we counted over 300 just this year.
That's right.
Sad.
And SeaWorld, of course, has been playing a huge part in trying to, recover and have these animals convalesce in their facilities. But yeah, it's very troubling.
Well, Guy, I really appreciate your time. I'm hoping to get out there to see you and hopefully get your book. I mean, I'd love to see it in person. Every time I go out to SeaWorld, I always look at that Mako painting that you did. It's very good.
Thank you. Well, it was fun to do. It was a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, I really appreciate your time. So I wish you good luck this weekend. And if I see you out there, I'm sure I'll say something.
Well, that'd be awesome. And in the meantime, happy Father's Day to you and all the fathers who may be watching.